Violence typically accompanies revolution because entrenched authorities don't willingly relinquish their power. However, violence is not intrinsic to revolutions, and profound change has been accomplished without resorting to it. In the 20th century, the reforms of the Progressive Era were achieved through the political process and constituted a revolution in the relationship of government to the individual. On a far grander scale, India's independence from Great Britain, led by Gandhi, was consummated by a movement founded on the principles of nonviolence. Those principles, and Gandhi's methods, were overtly adopted by Martin Luther King, Jr., who, along with millions of courageous activists, effected a revolution in civil rights. Of course, violence erupted in both India and in the US during these events, but it was perpetrated by reactionaries intent on preserving the unjust status quo. Violence was not used by revolutionaries to produce change. The status quo in America is intolerable and must be altered. If violent neutralizing of obstinate anti-revolutionaries is necessary to achieve that goal, then so be it. However, violence should be the last means used, not the first. A new American Revolution seeks to make government more responsive to the masses of people, instead of being attentive only to the wealthy and connected. A new American Revolution seeks to enact laws that alleviate poverty, improve education, reduce the prison population, eliminate money from politics, prevent permanent incumbency, to provide equal opportunity, and to build a strong social safety net. These objectives can be accomplished nonviolently. The recent defeat in his primary contest of Representative Eric Cantor, formerly House Majority Leader and powerful Republican, signals how real change can be accomplished through the electoral process. Whatever the specific reasons offered by the media, Cantor lost because his constituents concluded that he did not represent their wishes. Clearly, most of Congress fails to act according to the wishes of Americans, which means either Congress is ignorant of voters' wishes or is ignoring them. Either way, Congress, abetted by several presidents, have induced the decay of American civilization. But they don't suffer, only the public does. The people who have contributed to the deterioration of the country can't be trusted to fix it. The congressional gridlock of recent years testifies to that institution's impotence. The solution is simple: for voters to purge Congress of its rotten core of career politicians and to revitalize it with people who are committed to public interests, not special interests. The critical lessons of Cantor's defeat to a practically unknown, much less well-funded opponent are that while money is grossly influential, it is not determinative, and that enormous congressional power is irrelevant if that power isn't used to help constituents. If the results of the Cantor election were replicated 50 times or more, the American people would witness their welfare improving very quickly. A mass movement to cultivate and elect candidates who are committed to the concrete political, social, and economic goals of new American revolutionaries could then effect a fundamental revolution without violence or turmoil. It's obvious that entrenched elected officials will say anything, take money from anyone, and shift their principles as needed in order to remain in office. However, if defeated in an election, they don't form a militia and attempt to regain power. If a new American Revolution constitutes a movement to dislodge the legislatures throughout the country of entrenched politicos through the electoral process, then that nonviolent method will not be met with violence. The Revolutionary War resulted because the political process failed to produce agreement between the colonies and the government in London. The American Civil War detonated because the political process failed to yield compromise between the North and the South. World War I exploded because the political process failed to forge a path to resolve simmering territorial and ethnic disagreements. Every war is a consequence of failure of people to work together to resolve differences, so that force seems the only way to achieve desired goals. For new American revolutionaries, goals can be achieved through the current political process. Force isn't a prerequisite to achieving them. We want laws and regulations that improve the lives of average Americans. Such laws can be passed by a government that is sensitive and responsive to the public's needs and wants. Such a government must be comprised of people who share those needs, who can relate to them, who are beholden to no one but the voters who elected them. And such people can only be found, supported, and elected by masses of Americans who are tired of being ignored by their government, tired of being at war, tired of being deceived by slick politicians, tired of being subordinate to the demands of big business and secret billionaires, tired of worrying about the cost of education and the lack of jobs, tired of witnessing women and minorities unable to achieve their full potential due to vast obstacles, tired of watching the rest of the industrialized world advance while we decline. Not just tired, but ready to wake up and do something about it. If that doesn't happen, if the American public doesn't unite to revolutionize a country that has been perverted and distorted by the corruption of its elected custodians and their purchasers, then that will be another failure of a political system to achieve agreement between the powerless and the powerful. And as history teaches, when a political system fails to deliver the change sought and demanded by an aggrieved population, so that force seems the only option, violence isn't simply one tool to use, it's considered the necessary tool. The rot in our nation is so deep that it must be torn down so that it can be rebuilt. This can be accomplished through the nonviolent, controlled demolition of the electoral process. If not, we'll use the massive, thrashing wrecking ball made of the millions who have nothing to lose.